and welcome to our Animation Resources live stream. I'm Davey Jarrell. I'm a storyboard artist in TV animation, and I serve as the Director of Programming at Animation Resources. This stream is all about our student membership drive. Now, we recorded this stream during our drive of last year in 2022, but before we run that, we wanted to let you know about our current special deal. If you're currently a student, you have from now until November 6th to sign up and receive $10 off of your student membership for this year and all subsequent years. That's 4 years in total, so you get to save $40. Fellow storyboard artist and Animation Resources board member David Hoffmann, who goes by Pez, joined me on this podcast to talk about the benefits of this membership for both students and educators. So there are so many reasons to join Animation Resources, especially if you're a student. And some of the biggest reasons are, first, the big lie. Not with like election and politics and stuff, but in the animation world, the big lie. Basically, the big lie is that once you graduate from school, you'll get a job in animation. So I'll break it down. The biggest misconception most animation students have is that school is preparing them for a job. And this just isn't true. You can go to the best animation school in the world and graduate with honors and still not be qualified for a job. It just isn't possible in a school situation to teach students everything it takes to be a functional professional after just 4 years. So unlike in grade school, in college, at least in a lot of majors, especially in art majors, grades are meaningless. And chances are your employer doesn't care if you even graduated from college. All the employer cares about is whether or not you can do the job in a timely manner with quality results. So then, what exactly is the point of school if it isn't training for a job?
Networking.
Networking is part of it. Yeah, it's a forum for learning. So a good animation school can do two things. Like you said, networking. It puts you in an environment where you're surrounded by students and teachers who know their subject and are trying to do the same things that you're trying to do. And that can be a very supportive environment to learn in. And second, school can provide you with resources that may be more difficult to get access to in the real world. So university libraries are labs filled with books and on important subjects, and colleges mostly host uninstructed life drawing sessions. There's always screenings, film festivals, lectures by top industry professionals, and all these extracurricular activities may not be accessible to you after you graduate. So it's really important to take advantage of them while you're still there. But there just isn't enough time in 4 years to go over everything that you're going to need to know to work. Instructors may encourage their classes to study and work on their own skills outside of class time, but a lot of students are kind of stuck in that grade school mentality where if it isn't being graded, then it doesn't count or it doesn't really matter. And the truth is, in animation particular, the work you do outside of class is more important than what you do in the class. So what can you do in school to be as prepared as possible to get a job in animation? And that's you need to learn to learn. So learn to set your own goals, determine a curriculum for yourself, work to improve your skills, push the envelope of your creativity, exposing yourself to as many different ways of thinking about art, and just learn to grow. So look at what college is offering you. Talk to professionals, ask them what you should be learning, and supplement your college work with self-study. Don't just do what you want to do what you need to do. It's very hard and very time-consuming to gather all the skills and frame of reference you need to be a professional, but it's a lot easier to devote the time while you're still in school. So if you wait till you graduate, self-study is going to have to compete with all that adult stuff like paying bills and all that. And
Davey, how long did it take you to get your first gig after graduation?
Only about A month and a half.
You're a jerk.
But that's but that's because I found animation resources at the start of my junior year, so I got a big head start.
You cheated.
Like you didn't find us until
No,
well after you graduated, right?
No, well, Animation Resources was Animation Archive at the time, but so I graduated, back in the Stone Age in 2003, and I don't know when Steve started the archive. It might be 2004. Raise your hand, Steve. Right. I don't know, something like that. But yeah. I mean, I was in Ohio, and like when I graduated from art school, people didn't even know how to get into the business at all. It was crazy. I had a fantastic foundation studies program, so I learned drawing and painting and like the traditional art skills. But the animation program at my school was kind of a joke, and thankfully there was a couple of teachers there that were really good that taught me some stuff I needed to know. But when I came to California in 2006, I started volunteering with Steve Worth, and he started showing me stuff that was like, oh, I need to stop looking at the cartoons that I grew up watching. Because for me, I love old school cartoons, but that's what I grew up watching as a kid was the old stuff. Because I was like, I don't like the Shirt Tales. I don't like G.I. Joe. I liked Bugs Bunny, and I like, Mighty Mouse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Steve opened my mind to a lot of the art. I'd already taken illustration history, and I was familiar with some of that stuff, but I don't know, just thinking more like an artist, and less like a fan was like a big leap for me in my early years of development.
And how badly do you wish you knew about this and knew that information while you were still a student?
That'd been cool. Probably wouldn't have taken 4 years after graduation to come out here if that would have been the case. Right. It's scary, when you're graduating from the Midwest and then you're trying to get into the business and you don't even know anybody. And
let's say part of the reason it was different for me is because I went to school in Los Angeles, so I was already knew all you guys.
That's right.
Yeah. So
and now I've been in the business for I think 17 years.
17 years straight. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I had one period where I couldn't find work. It was during the writer's strike of 2008. That was the best learning experience I've had because I had geared myself to only do a specific type of cartoons because that's what I wanted to do. And then I was showing my portfolio to try to get whatever work I could find. I couldn't get work doing anything except for the stuff that they weren't making. And so I really had to work hard at showing that I could work on any kind of show.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Janet Diamond, she's a producer in animation. She would say, well, if you can draw those shapes, how come you can't draw the other shapes? They're all shapes, right? Like, she's right. They are.
So just got to build the muscle memory.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is exactly where Animation Resources comes in handy, where it like kind of fills in these gaps. So everyone needs to, like you did when you were looking for work in periods where you were unemployed, you need to build your own curriculum and open your mind to creatively and build the skills that you need. So every student is different. Every school is different. There are so many online courses and books to study from, but even those aren't enough. And the world of creativity is wider than you could possibly imagine. Animation Resources has gone to successful animation professionals like Ralph Bakshi, Will Finn, Sherm Cohen, and asked them what resources have been useful to them in their work. And every other month, Animation Resources publishes downloadable reference packs filled with this kind of material that these advisors recommend. This reference pack will help you with your self-study program and open your mind to the possibilities that you didn't know existed. So that's the first thing. That's the big lie. So the truth is that your degree is only half of your education.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's something.
Nah.
No, okay.
The only reason you need a degree is if you decide you want to be a teacher and not work in the business.
And that's something. Because
if you want to stay in Ohio and not move and not try to work in the business. But you know what's different now is like with the pandemic, we're still in work from home. Like, I mean, Davey, you're in your office right now, aren't you?
I'm in my home office, but
Yeah.
I like going to the studio during the week. But
Oh, I still
don't
don't
at
get to
all.
go to the studio. No. I've ever since 2020, I've been working in this little cube right here.
Well, I hope you get to go back soon. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. A lot of people don't want to.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to, but
it's nice to have the option.
you know, it makes animation resources even more important because like if you're new and trying to get in, how are you going to meet anybody? I mean,
Right, especially if you're working from home. Yeah.
right. Or how are you going to learn from I hear people that are like my age or older that are working at home for 3 years and they're like, wait a minute, like now I don't know if I'm doing it right. Now I'm not like feeding off of my peers and stuff. And so this organization is fantastic because you can, you know, we share what inspires us with each other. And these reference packs are just a collection of incredible work that a lot of people aren't talking about, you know? It's like everybody's looking at the same anime cartoon, and we got one of our guys, Jojo Baptista, just digs through and finds like some of the most amazing rare anime that no one remembers.
Yeah. So
it's got all the principles.
Yeah. The next element of animation resources that I'd like to talk about is 3 steps to greater creativity. This is something that Stephen has broken down really nicely. So he says that the key to creativity in animated filmmaking are 1, open your eyes to the world around you. 2, think about what you see, analyze how it works. And 3, expose yourself to a wide range of creative influences. So I'll start with the first one. With the primary source of inspiration for all artists is the observation of life. So too many animated films have character archetypes, the ones that you see over and over again, like a typical mom and dad characters, wimpy kids, goofy pets, bratty sister. But you know, the best entertainers and actors will tell you that they don't create characters by looking at what other actors do or employing stereotypes. So that's like an example of animation based on other animation. They look at, like, great actors look at real people and try to capture their gestures, their walks, attitudes, expressions, figure out what makes that person a unique personality. And it works exactly the same way in animation. It's like when you're riding the bus or at Starbucks or in line at the DMV, you really want to pay attention to the people around you. Look for unique personalities and try to capture them in your sketchbook. Exaggerate, caricature them to see how you might put across that personality in animation.
It's so important to go out. As a cartoonist, it is so important to just be in the world and don't sit in front of your TV all the time. You are so right. You have to like go out with your sketchbook and make fun of people.
Yeah.
I go sometimes. My friends and I will go out to this place Zebulon over here in Frogtown, and we just bring the Post-it pad and just start drawing all the funny faces of people that we see. And then you know what? Sometimes those people's faces end up in cartoons that we're making.
They'll never know.
They'll never know.
Right. Yeah.
But you're right. It is really important to draw from not like just a model, but draw from real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's where new personalities and new ideas come from. So the next step, number 2, is analysis. And analysis is the core of what it means to think like an artist, as opposed to like what you mentioned earlier, thinking like a fan. So when the average person sits down to watch an animated film, they're swept away into the fantasy, and they let their film direct their imagination and entertain them. But a filmmaker thinks differently. Once your mind is trained to understand the process of filmmaking, you'll never be able to sit in the theater as an audience member again, which is, in that way, that's kind of sad. But it's a trade-off, though.
And then people hate you.
People will hate you. So it's definitely
I'm like,
a trade-off. But
sometimes, like, you're watching something and you're like, you just can't help but see all the mistakes that are being made. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I can't enjoy this. You have to shut it off.
Yeah. Because when filmmakers look at a film, they're looking at the application of techniques. And like, how does it establish the characters and environment? How does it set up conflict? How is the pacing working and the contrast, mood, sound, color, all that stuff. So if you turn your brain on and the creativity will follow is the idea.
Yeah.
And step number 3, expose yourself to a broad spectrum of artistic creativity and not just the few things that you already know all about and like. So when you as a filmmaker are watching movies or shows or animation, you shouldn't just limit yourself to what you personally like. You want to focus on what you can learn from. So really, animation should just be a small portion of what you expose yourself to. In order to be creative in animation, you need to understand and appreciate all of the art forms, studying the history of all the art forms, filmmaking, music, painting, sculpture, dance, literature, all that. If you want to train yourself to think analytically about film, choose really good examples from the past to study. It's like classic movies are filled with cinematic techniques that animation still hasn't done. In the entire history of animation, there have been thousands of animals chasing each other, but how many gothic horror movies have there been animated? Or noir thrillers, westerns, war movies? There's a lot more still to be told. And another advantage of using older films as reference is that you're more likely to pull technique from them because you can't really imitate the content. Is if you're looking at a World War II movie, the situations and dialogue are so specific to that time and place. So instead, it kind of forces you to look at the acting and the staging or cutting. So then you're not stealing, you're taking that technique and then adapting it to your own context. So another element of animation resources is the importance of self-study. So animation is very competitive, and the best way to stay employable is to be constantly learning and growing as an artist. It isn't enough to just lean on what you already know. Styles change, animation changes, the world changes, and it's important for you to, students especially, to change with it. At Animation Resources, our advisory board, they let us know what's in their self-study, and then we share it with you. And I don't know if that's an experience that you can find anywhere else. And finally, I'd like to talk about the library of your mind. A lot of young animators seem to think that all the reference they need is on Google, but that isn't true. You have to know exactly what it is that you don't know in order to grow. So recently, a book was published showing great artists in their studios, and their workspaces were all different, but the one thing they all had in common is they had bookshelves totally packed with reference. I'm doing okay on that front, but I can definitely be doing better. So if you want to be a great artist too, follow their lead and push your boundaries and expand your frame of reference by building your own library. It can be books or it can be a hard drive. I guess my hard drive is pretty good because it's got all the Animation Resources ref packs. So the format doesn't matter. What matters is the impetus to know more than what you currently know. Do you have anything to add on about student membership, Pez?
I think that it's really competitive. If you're graduating like today, I mean, how else are you even gonna like get ahead of the game if you're not involved in something in this or something like it? Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing that's as specific as Animation Resources, because I feel like, I don't know, that you can do one of those animation adventures. I guess Steve doesn't like what I'm talking about. Sorry about that, sir. I feel like this is very specific because, like some of those things online, they teach you how to do a specific thing, and you're like, oh, I learned how to storyboard this sequence here. But this organization teaches creativity. It's like, okay, the first time I ever got the concept of what Steve was doing, I actually hadn't met him yet. I was in art school. It was my senior year at art school. And I had this illustration teacher. His name was C.F. Payne. He did the back cover of Reader's Digest. He may still do it. He did it forever. And the first assignment we had in his class is we had to make like a clip book. It was like a huge binder, and we went through all these magazines, and he was like, just put anything in there. And he was like, make lists of stuff you need. And we were just essentially like, why can't we just use Google? And it was like, no, you need to like look at all these different things. So that way you have a big library of stuff ready to go, and you can look at that stuff and be inspired by it. And so I that's what they used to do in the days before computer. And so now Steve has taken that idea of like the clip book that you look through, the reference book, and now we have these reference packs. It's way easier to deal with. I carry them around on my phone. I have them on my computer here, right there. And it's like anytime I'm just like stuck, I need an idea. I need to like think about a scene in a different way, or think about like character design or like a technique. I can just look at this stuff and I get inspired, and you find yourself not imitating the same stuff every time.
Right, because I think you'll have a natural inclination to, like, if you're just using Google, to search in the same kind of thing that you always search, or the algorithm will give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's great.
Two things. I work on some Looney Tunes stuff, and then I work on the SpongeBob thing. So right now, both of those sort of can feed each other, right? I can learn from one and then work on the other, but it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes, I was working on Tuca and Birdie, which was like an adult animated show, and those are like human bodies with bird heads, and so that's basically human figure drawing, which is the complete opposite of drawing Looney Tunes characters, because it's like that's like shapes and lines of action and squash and stretch and stuff, and there was no squash and stretch in the other show.
Yeah.
So, I found myself looking at a lot of vintage illustration and the drawing courses and a lot of that stuff that Steve is and the board of the advisory boards put together for us.
Well, I hope you're convinced to join. If you're still watching, then I assume you are. I can't recommend Animation Resources enough. With the bi-monthly reference packs curated by our board, the bonus archive, and the podcasts, you will have a great start at building a personal reference library of material that will serve you for your entire artistic career. And it's a huge bargain. It's only $70 per year if you're a student or educator, and $95 per year for the general membership. There's also a quarterly membership, which is $30 every 3 months. But remember our special deal. Students, if you join anytime before November 6th, you save $10 on your membership every year for the next 4 years. You can sign up right now at animationresources.org/membership. One more time, that's animationresources.org/membership.